start by saying a few words of thanks myself, actually, because this is a very important development, and I thank all of the companies really for joining together and taking forward the idea in the UK. And it is a public-private thing. Actually, truth be told, government has not been that involved. We like the development, we look and smile and say, well done, fantastic. But I think credit really has to go to Mark and Kirsty and those people who are really at the kind of vanguard and taking forward the use of technology, the one-to-one devices, home-based devices, and so forth. So I think let's acknowledge Mark and Kirsty. Tim, I think this is your last event. I have to say, your last education event. Tim's been with Intel in the education hall for quite some time. We're going to miss you as well, so thank you to you for your contribution to all of this. And of course, to those at RM and so forth, Mike and Brian, and obviously Joyce as well for the concept. And it is amazing that Shape the Future has benefited, around upwards of 21 million young people in 56 countries, which is really quite something. And it is certainly a project that those who have a deep interest in educational technology and the value of technology, as I have done for some time, and as ministers do, will look to in terms of inspiration and what the future looks like. This is a very, very important agenda. How education adapts to the technological context of today and how that technology adapts to the needs of education, I think, is one of the critical issues of our time, really. It's certainly a critical educational issue of our time. It is very much about the future, and the future work is truly, truly important. I think it's very true to say, as many others have said, which is technology is an enabler, and I think Joyce made that point. And it's important to see it not as a panacea, not as something that you drop into a context and you'll get magic results out of, but that you spend time working out what the kind of models, what the strategies are, and what the ways of using that technology are to really add value to education. And I think that's certainly something that has happened in the Shivens and Shivens Collegiate Academy, and we're seeing it in more and more places. There is a world of opportunity out there, and this is the future because of the opportunity that's out there already. Just the world of the internet, educational resources. I will quote I Choose You. Just the Open University gets 30,000 downloads a day. There are around 4,000 apps that are just dedicated to learning maths, out there in the world, and probably there's another 1,000, since I last updated that. You go on to services like Khan Academy. There are 3,500 kind of lessons in video and interactive form, and exercises and so forth. That's just to quote a few. And then you look at these wonderful devices and what comes preloaded with them, which is a whole load of educationally valuable software, ranging from productivity software through to the kind of stuff that excites us in the department at the moment, which is looking at programming, creative, constructive approaches, but especially if it's in the hands of a young person who has got time and can spend time at home and has those tools with them all the time. What an amazing educational opportunity that is. And of course, educational opportunity is very, very important in terms of inclusion. There is a very strong relationship, certainly in the UK, between how well you do in education and what background you come from. And that is certainly something that the government wants to tackle in very, very stark ways. So, for example, around about 109,000 kids this year, or last year, this year, didn't achieve the national standard when they finished primary school. That's a large proportion. It's around about 20% didn't do that. Around a third of 16-year-olds don't meet the national standard when they leave school at 16 in English or maths. We're talking about core subjects. And there is a strong relationship between that lack of attainment and the background that those young people come from. So it's a very important social inclusion issue. And if you look at the statistics around access to technology, well, a lot of kids nowadays have access to technology at home and access to the internet at home. But if you look at the quality of that, you'll find that still there is a significant relationship between the kind of background people come from and how well their parents are and how much good access they have to technology, whether or not they have their own device and so forth, or how old it is. And we know that technology is important. For quite some time, I've been involved in the evidence base around this, but for quite some time we've known that there is a value to having access to your own device, having access to technology at home, supporting your homework, supporting what you do educationally with the help of a computer. So going back to when I was at the department about 8 years ago, there was a pretty important study by Jill Valentine looking at the impact of home use of technology. And it found that English and Maths GCSE, this is about controlling for all sorts of other things that might impact on how well you do in your GCSEs. English and Maths GCSE, there was a significant impact from using technology at home to support your learning. And we know that there's all sorts of ways that you can use technology to get a better grade, basically, and certainly revision, and certainly just being able through your studies to have access to a much larger range of resources than you would otherwise have, and even simple things like downloading exam papers, but other ways of learning as well, creative ways that support you educationally more generally. More recently, 2010, Institute of Fiscal Studies, very, very well respected organisation, looked at a huge database, the Longitudinal Survey of Young People in England. The Longitudinal Survey of Young People in England we call LIPSI, which is a department database, and it traced young people through several years, from age 13 up to age 18 and beyond, actually, I think taking it through to age 21. And ask the question, okay, what is it that can account for how well they do? And used a very, very sophisticated model, but was really, really interested in what is it where there is disadvantage, which relates to not doing so well. What is it about that actually has the impact, and what is it that can improve that? And not an unsurprising finding, but many people were sceptical. Actually, the impact of using a computer at home added up to the equivalent of 2 GCSE grades. 2 GCSE grades. So the difference between those pupils from disadvantaged backgrounds who used technology at home versus those who didn't, actually just simply had access, wasn't looking into how they used it, just simply had access. That's had a really important impact, and that study found other benefits as well. There's one that we kind of thought, can that be true? There's an impact on truancy, a positive impact on truancy, as in truancy goes down with that. But actually that's possibly common sense, because this is likely to lead to probably kids spending more time engaging with the technology at home, and may well then lead to certain behaviours that mean that they're spending less time, I guess, doing naughty things on the street and so on. And we also have the ICT testbed. I have to mention the ICT testbed, which found again that if you have a technologically rich environment, then you improve your results at a faster rate than other schools. And so where I do point to Sir Mark Childs, and also just to look at George Slaughter School and the increase in the GCSE A to C's, 5 A to C's there, from 14% to 85% over a very relatively short period of time. And of course, Sir Mark will know, Kirsty will know, that it's not about the device, it's what you do with it. And the important thing there is that wonderful, very strategic approach, strategy that says we're not just putting computers in. We're going to put in resources, the Shiloh's platform, and so forth. The Shiloh learning, the model. Let's get that right, and let's make sure that really adds value. So I think I'll sort of finish with a little bit of a challenge, because I think we still need to do Joyce was very clear, and I absolutely agree. We are at the beginning, and we still need to do a lot more. We know that there is value to be had, but let's make sure that people know how that value is had, and let's make sure we share it and understand it and build it as we get better access and better machines and obviously an amazingly rich variety of resources. Let's think about what kind of infrastructure we need. How can we make it easy for schools to actually make this happen? And use of cloud and all those sorts of things are important. Teacher skills we know are critical for what really are the skills to get this working very, very well. And I think there's probably more work that needs to be done, and possibly this is a government role to highlight the really key evidence. There's an awful lot of work going on in the UK government about how to get good evidence to teachers about what works. It's early days on maths, to be quite honest, but there's some wonderful developments that have happened, and there's some fantastic research centres that are really distilling evidence of what works. I've been noticing that a lot of those what works are to do with technology. And so let's get, where there are technological rich environments like Shirelands, let's make sure that the evidence gets to, we felt that evidence get to the teachers. Finally, I'll just say that the future is coming quickly. It is a fast-changing environment. One of the things that government has recognised is that the world of ICT, or the world of educational technology, or the world of computers in schools, and certainly consumer technology, is changing so quickly, it is very difficult to keep up. But we do need to adapt and keep learning, and any profession. Certainly any profession that has anything to do with technology, and there are many of those. Just think of how architecture or engineering or any of those kind of professions has changed through technology. We should see education as a professional area where technology is just as important, and of course we need to adapt to those technologies as we go along. And there's some very exciting developments out there happening that we're seeing. Wouldn't it be great if some of those we could see in Shirelands in a couple of years' time? The use of, for example, learning analytics. There's amazing ways that very intelligent gaming technologies are supporting learning, and the ways that the kind of data in the hands of the teacher can help kind of shape what happens in the classroom in ways that mean that actually there's a lot of really powerful learning that goes on because it's targeted at what the issues are and what the weaknesses are. So, I think it's a very, very important time for Shape the Future to come to the UK. And I'm very delighted to be here today to welcome the development. I wish it luck in the future, and I'll be certainly taking a close look at how it develops. So well done, Microsoft, RM, and Intel, and partners involved here.